Hi, this is Form 1040, Individual Income Tax Return for the year 2020. I want to show you how this form works. As you can see, I've already filled in some information for Sam Smith. His name and his address and his social security number is right here. He is a single person, so his filing status is going to be single. I'll check that box just like that. And then down here, these boxes can be left blank. He doesn't want to contribute to the election campaign fund. But down here he needs to answer this question about virtual currency. And he doesn't have any virtual currency, so he's going to say no. And then down here for the standard deduction, he's not a dependent and he doesn't have a spouse, so those are going to be blank. And he wasn't born before this date and he's not blind, so those are blank. Also no dependents, so no entries in there. But scrolling down here to the income, he has a job, and we're going to say that he made $12,900 this year. So his total income on line 9 is $12,900, and his adjusted gross income is also $12,900. But I'm going to change that just a bit here. Looking at line 10B, which is a new line for 2020. For charitable contributions, a single person can deduct up to $300 for cash paid to a qualified organization for 2020. And I'm going to say that Sam contributed $50 of cash to such an organization. So I'll put that there, and that changes his adjusted gross income to $12,850. Now, the next thing we want to do is find the standard deduction over here. For a single person, it is $12,400. So I'm going to put $12,400 on line 11, or line 12 rather, just like that. And that gives him a taxable income of $450. So the next thing we need to do on this next page is figure out the tax on this $450. And to do that, we need to go to the tax table for 2020, which is in the 1040 instructions. And I just happen to have a copy of that attached to this file. And you see I've highlighted some fields to help us. This is the tax table from the 1040 instructions for 2020. And line 15, which again was $450. Is right here, and it is at least 450 but less than 475, so this is the line we want, and his tax is $46. So on line 16 we're going to put $46 right there, and his total tax on line 24 is also $46. Now let's look at some of the credits that he qualifies for. First of all, he has a job, and on his W-2 he had $1,100 withheld for withholding. So his total withholding is $1,100. And then if he qualifies for the earned income credit, he would put that right here. Now, to qualify, there's some qualifications that you need to look at on the instructions. And we're going to say that he does qualify. So we need to figure this out, and to do that we need to go to the earned income credit table, which is down here, and I've highlighted these fields for you. He's a single person and with no dependents, so he's going to be looking at this column here. You'll see that I've highlighted 2 rows, and the reason I've done that is because he actually needs to look this up twice. One for his adjusted gross income and one for his earned income. So let's go back here and find those numbers. His adjusted gross income on line 11 is $12,850, and his earned income on line 1 is $12,900. So go back down to the table here, and $12,850 is this line, and the credit is $225, and $12,900 is this line, and the credit is $221. Now he needs to choose the smaller of those 2 numbers, which is according to the instructions for the earned income credit. And going back up here to line 27, he's going to enter 221 right there on that line, and that gives him a refund of $12.75 on 35A. So he is ready to file this form, but before we do that, let's look at one other line, this recovery rebate credit. That is the stimulus check that he would have received. You might remember back in April, the government mailed out stimulus checks to everybody that qualified, and for a single person that would have been $1,200. And then a second stimulus check was recently mailed out in January of 2021 for a single person that would be $600 for a total of $1,800. So probably he's already received that, and if that's the case, he would just leave this blank. But if he hadn't received it, he can still get a credit for it by putting in $1,800 right there, and then that would bump him up to a refund of $3,075. So that would be a pretty nice refund for him. Now, if he's ready to file this form, he would first print out the page 1 and page 2 of 1040 here, and then he would put in his signature right there and date and occupation right there, and then he'd be ready to mail this to the IRS. So let me show you where he would mail this form to. Down here, this is also from the 1040 instructions, and he's got a refund, so he's going to be in this column. He lives in Washington State, so he's going to be on this row. And for this time period, this is the address that he would file, that he would send his forms to. So that's what he would do, and that's how that works. And in about 4 to 6 weeks, he would get a refund for that amount on 35A, whether it is $3,075 or whether it is $1,275. He'd get a refund for that. So that's how that works. So thanks for listening.